Bingo. Well, Facebook is live. Oh, and YouTube is now live. And I did something I didn't want to do. I didn't want to do that. It never works out the way you plan sometimes. Hey, everybody. It's Lewis Porter Jr. As you can see, I'm trying to put together this lovely show with a little issue. There's always something that'll drive you crazy if you do this long enough. So tonight, I decided to go with something. My initial topic was a lot different. But I decided I didn't like that topic. Didn't excite me enough. It really didn't. This wasn't really exciting to me. So I decided to do something much cooler that would be a more interesting topic that I think I would find more interesting. So we're going to talk about creating adventure paths you actually want to play, because that's always been an issue with mine. Now that I'm doing more and more adventures, I thought, this would be kind of interesting. So, quick thing. I bought 2 books today. I bought U.S. Avengers. Yes, because Paco Medina does the artwork. I'm a huge fan of his. I've read just about everything he's ever drawn. I like his artwork a lot. And, of course, I've been reading Sam Wilson, Captain America. I'm not as disappointed with this book as much as The Black Panther, which I thought was really a waste of time. And that says a lot coming from me, because I love the Black Panther and I love the Falcon. I see Captain America, but they call him a Falcon because that's the name I know him by. But also, to make my day a little bit better, I got something that I really liked, because, once again, the artwork is one of those things. So I picked up Captain America, Hydra Ascendant. This is the first run with Sam taking over the Shield. Stuart Jimenez does the art, one of my favorite artists. If you haven't read it, it's okay. It's a good read. It's got some really good moments, but the artwork, fantastic. Really a big seller with me. That's why I picked it up. So that was the quick day for that. So those plastic bags in my way. So let's talk about adventure paths. So everybody keeps talking about adventure paths. I'm doing an adventure path. This person's doing an adventure path. And, I've noticed most of the adventure paths kind of follow the same kind of basic structure. And they're supposed to. That's, you progress over time to a big ending, and then you start a new one. But they're not really doing, really new adventure paths. Nothing like where you're like, oh, my God, I haven't seen that before. And, this kind of came up even in my thought process of working on Infinite Dungeon. It's just like, we're doing an adventure path. We're doing a dungeon, but it's really an adventure path. And it's really like room by room. How do we get people interested in it? What's the cool thing we can do? What gets them excited? So we've kind of been on that kind of focus as of late. So with that, I'm like, what makes an adventure path something that somebody wants to play? Because, there's tons of adventure paths. I mean, Paizo has tons. Every other minor company has tons. But why would you want to play in them? Aren't you kind of tired of playing the same old adventures? I mean, I am. Fundamentally, I see adventures very much in the same way like comic books. I think it's kind of the best analogy for me, because they're long-term, very long stories that get told over months and sometimes years. So I think that kind of falls in the same range with, basic adventure paths. And, there are some good ones. Don't get me wrong. There are some good adventure paths, or even long-term adventures, you want to call them. It's just... yes, Jason is correct. Kingmaker was a great departure from the standard formula, which I thought was, that for them, they're trying new things. I think that's something that Paizo also gets an advantage of, trying new things like that and doing those kind of things out. It's one of those kind of like, oh, let's try it out. What's the worst that could happen? It has that kind of mentality, which I like that line always, I just think it's funny. What's the worst that could happen? You never know. You never know. But I think people need to try different adventure paths. The most recent one we did, for Chronicle of the Gatekeepers. That was one that when Mike was kicking on the ideas, it was like, what can we do that's really different that hadn't been seen, or had been seen maybe once or twice, but it would tie in perfectly. And one of the things that we did is that we built the whole concept around Atlantis and, traveling to Earth, actual Earth. And it was kind of a great setup. And this was really, and this whole adventure path was really, the basic was get you interested in playing Neo Exodus. That was the whole gimmick. It's a gimmick. So we basically set it up also very differently. We did the beginning part being the Alpha Adventure and the end part being the Omega. And being the middle part of a sidetracks you could play them 1, 2, or all 6. They all tied into the adventure, but it wasn't mandatory to play. And that was something that we came up with that I really liked that idea, because I think adventures are basically kind of very linear structures, point A to point B, and then you get to the end. And even when we did that with, Chronicles, we gave you some stuff in the middle that you could arrange any piece the way you wanted, but still it was basically like, Alpha, Omega. That's how you really had to play. All the sidetracks in the middle were just added stuff if you were interested. So that was something that we enjoyed doing and something we tried. So even with that, I keep talking to Michael, going, "Oh, we should do a sequel. We should do a sequel to this." It did very well. I like it. I think we should do a sequel because we can spin it in a really cool way and bring in a race that I've been working on for a very long time. And I'm going to find the picture of it. I'm not going to say which one it is. But when I first started working on this idea for this race, it basically was, well, I guess I could tell you that part, but even though it kind of gives it away, it's all right. I really came with the idea of I want to do a filler for the because I was making a setting that was going to be for my, like I said, my interpretation, my feeling of Spelljammer plus a little bit of Birthright. It's kind of that mix up. I was going to do another one of those mashed together settings, and I remember the GIF for these big hippopotamus men. I thought that was a cool idea, and I wanted to really do something that was like above that, because I mean, hippopotamus guys with guns is pretty cool. I mean, that was a pretty smart idea, and I was like, well, what's another animal that people find terrifying that you wouldn't think in the way that you wouldn't normally think like this? So of course, that was with an animal that I'm very familiar with, because if you ever notice, I'm wearing a lot of Echo stuff, and of course, their animal is the rhino. So I picked rhino. Very funny, very weird, but very funny. And I thought, there's nothing cooler than a rhino, and a rhino man is even cooler. So that was a push for that. And then we said, oh, let's do a 4-armed rhino man, because they had to be even crazier. And then we said a Scottish rhino, and then we got what we got. So, and this goes back to the basic concept of, how can you play different types of games? I mean, after so many different types of adventures and stuff, people are kind of telling the similar stories, especially on long ones. I would really like for people to try different things. Nicholas says, I'm leaning towards an adventure web format these days. Written isolated adventures with recycling settings. Yeah, that's funny. We did something like that. Well, we thought about something like that too. It's kind of like starts out like 3 adventures, and they connect in different ways, and it builds kind of a web off of that. I see the future of adventures. Well, adventures have to change. As anybody in publishing will tell you, you have to write adventures. But the problem with adventures is it's for one person. Adventures are for sale to one person, and you run it for 6 or 8. So the sales are never equal. Players' books always sell well. They always sell well. And GM's books sell about 1/6, or maybe even 1/3. Because not everybody needs a game master's guide, but most people want more stuff for their players and their stuff. So it's only naturally gear books sell well, magic books sell well, and those are always ones that work very well. And I don't mean just for Pathfinder. I mean just in general for products. One of the first books we came up with for Means of Mastermind was a powers book, because you need more superpowers, and we added 50 more initially, and that sold like hotcakes. So you got to find stuff like that, and I think. You got to start creating adventures that people really want to play, and find ways to play them differently and play. But I mean, I don't know about everybody else. I personally I'm more than tired of seeing like the Lord of the Rings clone. It's like, how many more adventure paths can you do kind of like that? And let's take some stuff that's maybe more modern that you'd expect, and then put it in a fantasy setting. I think that kind of flip is kind of natural. I think even Game of Thrones is everybody's like, oh, it's so amazing. But Game of Thrones always reads like a modern day political setup thing. And it feels very much like that. So I'm always surprised, even down to the killing of people. Bam, people getting killed, just random things happen. Oh, this happened. And you just haven't put it in a fantasy setting. I think that in itself is a great way to take things and spin them on their head, as it were. Look at Destiny, prime example. Destiny's always said they took the fantasy setting and imported it into, most of their themes and ideas, into a science fiction setting. And most people didn't see that coming. And now that has done very well for them. So I think the reverse could happen. Science fiction tropes easily ported back to fantasy. I know I've done that with monsters for myself, and I think that kind of adventure is what you don't see much. I mean, you don't see, questions about... I have an adventure I want to do for a long time. And it's really kind of it's a stupid adventure, but it's my adventure and I like it. So but you understand, it's a very simple adventure. It's one of those things, if something crashes in the ground and you're tracking it as it's crashed, but you've noticed something has gotten out of the ship it's the ship that's crashed in the ground, and it's going through towns, and it's like transforming people and killing them, and people are hunting this thing down. Da, 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 da. And at the end, you figure out, I don't know if I'm going to write it, so yeah, I can tell you. At the end, you find out, basically, it's the pilot from the ship and he's been dragging this container that's basically the reactor to the ship. He knows it's going to explode. So he's trying to get to this crevice where he can toss it down there to maybe save some lives so it doesn't have this big, massive explosion. But in a fantasy setting, it takes a very different, weirder spin on it. So it's like, someone just texted me, just got me off. So it takes this different spin. So that's something that, you know, as he goes from town to town, he's infecting more people with the energy from the reactor, and it's causing them to do all kinds of crazy things. So people are thinking it's some kind of demon, and it's really not. You know, stuff like that. I'm a big fan of that. I've always been a big fan of, you know, twisting things that you can normally see that you think are one way to a way you didn't think about it. And I think that plays well with adventures. I think more adventures need to do that kind of stuff. I think as a whole, I think we need to really just look at adventures differently. You know, how can I make adventures that people can play over and over and again and again and get a different result? That's like the dream for me, because once again, you play an adventure once, you've done it. It's one, done. And adventures cost a lot because there's the maps and the art. So how do we do this in a way that we can give you some really good stuff? Do I even have it over there? And get you interested in what we're doing. Geez, someone texting. Jesus, people are texting me like crazy. So yeah, it's just one of those things. It's just like, how do you do this right? How do you do this in a way that's awesomely interesting? I don't know. I'll keep working at it. I'll keep trying. But I think you've got to make the adventure awesome. And I think, you know, even if you're not sure, if you're a first-time person and you don't know where to start, pick a simple story you like. Pick a simple story you like and twist it. Do I have to put, there's a link. I'll put this link actually in the description. I got to find it. It's an actual Flip the Script. That's what it's called. Flip the Script by Max. What's Max's last name? I see it. I can't see it. Max Landis. Thank you. Max Landis plays this one constantly. If you haven't seen this video, I'm going to link it here, because I think it is a brilliant idea. I think he does it very well. God. And if anybody knows me and knows I've had the pleasure of meeting Max, you know, because he was a well-known guy doing the comic books around here. Sorry, Flip the Premise, but I said Flip the Script. Flip the Premise. I'm going to put the link in here because I think it's important to see. I'll even put the link right here because I think you guys should want to see it if you're going to watch Facebook. This is something that you can use to do some awesome stuff. Yes, of course, somebody on Facebook. You people who are watching on YouTube, you got to wait till the show notes. It is a great idea. I think it works miracles, and I think if you do it really well, you can probably make some good money doing it. I mean, I don't mean this in a cocky sort of like, oh, you make some. No, I mean seriously, this is a great idea. It's brilliant. I'm mad I didn't think about it first, but I'm glad he told everybody about it. I think it's a great plan. So follow the link, watch the video there. If you haven't seen it before, please do. You'll find it very, very useful. And I think this was going to actually help you create better adventure paths that people want to play, like taking stuff that you already know and flipping it. See how easy that was? That was lots of fun and easy, and only less than 15 minutes. So here we go. Well, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Tomorrow's show will be, of course, our recap show. I don't know what I'm going to recap about, but I think I'll recap about something. But I'm sure something awesome will happen tomorrow that I'll have to talk about, that, you know, somebody's done something illegally or someone's done something immorally in the gaming industry, and, you know, all kinds of fun stuff like that. But for now, I'm going to send this stuff up. I'm going to get the stuff all ready, and you're going to have fun stuff to enjoy. So thank you so much. Remember, once again, oh, yeah, as always, I keep always tell people, please subscribe to our YouTube. Yeah, still good. Subscribe to our YouTube if you haven't, or please do. We need people to subscribe. It's very important, and we do appreciate it. Plus, we get good stats. Oh, by the way, if you check out our website this weekend, I'm going to have some new products up, specifically for Mutants and Masterminds, but there'll also be new stuff up. So I'm going to put a link in probably tomorrow so you can see the new site if you haven't been checking it out. We've updated it. It's now built off WordPress, and it's saving me a lot of time and a lot of effort for doing stupid things I was doing before. It's just a big, huge advancement. So if you're not a fan of WordPress, I can't say enough nice things. It does have a learning curve, but it's actually worth it. So there you go. All right, I'm getting out of here. You all have a good night, and I'll talk to y'all later.